September 16th, Mr. Wesso saw the extraordinary. A barrage of bullets sprayed Nisour Square, killing 17 Iraqis.
other car Volkswagen, no Volkswagen. راجع خوفا ضربوه من وراء.
He was afraid and he was running, then they hit him from the back.
Famous Blackwater incident, and have reconstructed it in similar detail. Mr. Wesso's account is startling because he is staunchly pro-American and a member of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan Party.
حينما خلصوا بعد 20 دقيقة من الرمي المكثف انتهت، ماكو مقاومة ضدهم، وأصلا ماكو مقاومة تدري.
All of the witnesses interviewed say the bullets were fired by guards working for Blackwater USA, a private security company working in Iraq. They say also that the guards fired without provocation and that the shooting continued even as the victims fled for their lives. The Iraqi government supports their claims and has called the incident deliberate murder. A U.S. Army report termed the shootings, quote, a criminal event. Blackwater has another story. The company declined an on-camera interview, but has maintained its guards were under attack and responded appropriately. The State Department, in a statement issued shortly after the attack, supported Blackwater's assertion that it fired in self-defense. The shooting has prompted investigations by the FBI, the State Department, the U.S. Army, and Iraqi authorities. The incident on this traffic circle is the third high-profile shooting in recent months involving Western security contractors, and it has raised larger questions about justice in Iraq. Blackwater was protecting that delegation, and when the bomb exploded, guards quickly shuttled the delegation towards the safety of the green zone. A second Blackwater team in 4 SUVs moved towards Nisour Square to help clear a route to safety. Police officers Sarhan Diab and Ali Khalif were directing traffic in the square. Both say the shooting started without warning.
قام يضرب عدة طلقات عشوائي. مرة تصيح ابني توجهت لقيته من فوق جوا دم والجامعة 3 طلقات بيها.
According to Blackwater, 3 of its vehicles were struck by bullets. 1 was disabled. At this point, witnesses say, cars made U-turns and began to retreat in terror. But the guards kept firing. U.S. Army personnel, who arrived shortly after the shooting, said in a report that it appeared Blackwater guards shot at the fleeing vehicles. Iraqi investigators say that it was attacked from above. Blackwater helicopters can still be seen in this video, taken immediately after the shooting stopped.
حتى الطيارتين من هاي الحجم الصغير قامت ترمي علينا.
Taxi driver Baras Sadoun was among the wounded that day. His x-rays show the shards of shrapnel that tore into his body.
فمن صاروا بصفي هو هذا الشخص الفوق سحب أقسامه وبدأ يرمي علي وعلى المقابيل حتى من رغبة العالم قامت تنزل من السيارات تنهزم قام يرميهم.
As the incident came to an end, Mr. Wesso says there was a lull in the shooting as 4 Blackwater SUVs pulled away from their positions. Then, he says, they opened fire on a bus full of passengers. 1 woman was killed.
Why is it that for almost 20 years, not just under Biden, but under previous administrations, the State Department and the Pentagon felt a need to use American power for some kind of social experiment to rearrange the traditional society in Afghanistan? How is that in our national interest? Why would we do that?
It's the same collection of national security elites in Washington that have failed for that entire 20 years. They took what was a brilliant victory by special operations in the CIA in the first 6 months after 9/11 and turned it into a massive failed nation-building exercise. And it's largely been like a Star Trek cosplay convention where they just sit and talk to each other and delude themselves into thinking they're making progress. And it's been the same nonsense, and they refuse to think about any other ways to solve this problem. Central government nirvana based in Kabul, ignoring any kind of central or local governance based on whatever their social experiment is. And the U.S. military replicated itself. I mean, the U.S. military, the most expensive military in the world, replicated itself in Afghanistan with a lot of expensive capability. And we've been beaten by weapons that were designed in the 1940s, carried by largely illiterate goat herders. Right. If there is any shame in Washington, there should be a lot of people resigning, and if not, they should be fired. This is
But
a wholesale
but they're going to get away with it. I'm
fail.
sorry to say this. I mean, it must frustrate you more than anyone since you spent a lot of your life there and thinking about Afghanistan. No people have died there, but they're going to get away with it. The people who did this, who made these decisions, lied about it on TV, they're going to move on to the next country to
The
wreck.
really disgusting thing is the people that made those decisions in the comfort of their Beltway offices don't have to live with the lost limbs, lives,
Right.
marriages, the real damage. And on top of that, I mean, just today in Bagram, what used to be the U.S.'s biggest base, the prison was opened and all the Al-Qaeda and ISIS prisoners were released. So the ones that were released from Guantanamo, brought to Afghanistan, are now free and open on the range again. Okay?
Varnado Simpson watched 3 men, including Hutto and Hudson, go into a hut with a girl aged about 17. Her trousers were forcibly removed. The girl was held down while she was violated. Simpson observed this from the door. Fagan was also part of the girl's ordeal. When they were finished, the helpless captive was shot dead, her face completely blown away. Torres stabbed several people with a Bowie knife and was seen by Hutto raping a girl. She was crying, fighting, and resisting him. Another soldier held her down. For Simpson, the crucial moment was when he shot the woman and baby soon after entering the village. I went to turn her over, and there was a little baby with her that I had also killed. The baby's face was half gone. My mind just went. The training came to me, and I just started killing. Old men, women, children, water buffaloes, everything.
War is a nightmare. War is awful. It is indifferent and devastating and evil. War is hell. But war is also an incredible teacher, a brutal teacher. And it teaches you lessons that you will not forget. In war, you are forced to see humanity at its absolute worst. And you are also blessed to see humanity in its most glorious moments. And unfortunately, war teaches you the most when things go wrong. And for me, one of the most impactful lessons that I learned from war was in the spring of 2006 in the city of Ramadi, Iraq, which at the time was the epicenter of the insurgency, where brutal and determined terrorists ruled the streets with torture and rape and murder. And I realized that there was only one person to blame for the confusion, only one person to blame for the wounded men, and only one person to blame for the dead Iraqi soldier. And I knew exactly who that person was. And with that knowledge, I walked into the debriefing room with my commanding officer, and the master chief and the investigating officer were sitting there waiting for me, along with the rest of my men, including my SEAL that had been wounded, who was sitting in the back of the room with his head and his face all bandaged up. And I stood up before them and I asked them one simple question. Whose fault was this? And then I told them that there was only one person at fault for what had happened. There was only one person to blame. And that person was me. I am the commander. I am the senior man on the battlefield, and I am responsible for everything that happens. Everything.